Hello, welcome to Movies I Love with yours truly, Nomfanelo Malloy. So, I'll be continuing my conversation of Fast and Furious franchise. I'll be talking about Furious 7, which is directed by James Wan, who's known for projects such as Saw and Aquaman, and the film stars Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, and Michelle Rodriguez. So my thoughts about this movie is that it's a bit more serious compared to the previous movies, but you still have fun with it. I mean, it's both like fun and bittersweet, mainly because of Paul Walker, because during the production of this movie, he unfortunately passed away, and yeah, like it was just sad that that happened. But regardless though, it's fine with this movie. This movie is more like Mission Impossible. I mean, sixth one, was starting to become a spy film, but with this one kicks it overdrive, which I find it's hit and miss. The plot is ridiculous, as I feel like it should have focused more on Deckard Shaw, like versus the team, than with the hacker subplot, which I'll get into later. So let's talk about why I love this movie. So first and foremost, Paul Walker. Um, yeah, it was just sad that what happened with him passing away, but given the circumstances, I thought he did a good job with this movie. I mean, his art could have been a bit more refined because we see like him like expecting another child and him in the dad role, but he still wants to be a part of the fast life. So, but I do get that because of what happened that we we couldn't see that through, but it is what it is. And I enjoyed the montage towards the end of scissor reel of his moments throughout the franchise, which was nice. And I do like a moment in this movie where where we see him introduced, where we see the close up of him in the car, and then it cuts to a wide shot of him in the minivan. I thought that was hilarious, but I would say, yeah, like the filmmakers and the producers did a great job at wrapping his arc, at least for now. So that was appreciated. And See You Again with that song by Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth, that was huge at the time. And yeah, like obviously it's the big song, I guess, not just of this film, but of the franchise. Be- because of the Paul Walker tribute, but also too that it is a relatable song if you take it out of context of the film. So kudos on that song. And in regards to the story, I enjoyed the fact that with Letty, she still has amnesia, because you see, like she starts to partly remember, but she still feels overwhelmed during certain moments. So, namely, like when they had Race Wars, which is a nod to the first movie, where we see Hector from the first movie is back there. So that one was interesting. Like when she won the race and everyone's cheering, and she becomes like overwhelmed so much that she just abruptly leaves the race. And it's kind of funny that like we're watching it, like when she's trying to save Dom towards the end, that she has her Jason Bourne moment where she's like, oh, I remember everything. Then we see like the montage of her remembering everything, so it kind of reminds me of with Jason Bourne, like when he says in the Bourne Ultimatum, oh, I remember everything until the last movie, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, like that. But it was great to see, I guess, that arc come to a conclusion. Also too, there was a lot of cheesy one-liners. The ones that I enjoyed came from Hobbes specifically. There's one moment where he says, "I am the Calvary," when he's about to use the big machine gun towards the helicopter with the bad guys. And then the other one I enjoyed is when he's in the hospital and he sees like the chaos unfold on the TV, and then he says to his daughter, "Oh, Daddy's got to go to work," and it looked like he flexes his muscles to to essentially tear out the his arm cast. I thought that was just hilarious because those lines, it just reminds me of like the action movies from like the 80s and 90s where they tend to uh use those sorts of lines to entertain the audience. So that one was cool. Also, too, I liked the action scenes. They're quite intense, especially with how we see some of the camera work. Kind of feels like you're a part of the ride. So I'll highlight the sequence when the team they're trying to rescue Ramsey from the bad guys. That was cool. From when they were free falling in the air to when they land in the ground. So I enjoyed that. And also too with Dom and Brian when they are in the red Ferrari in Abu Dhabi where they crash into multiple buildings. Like I never thought that was possible with cars, but hey, I guess anything can happen in the movies. And also to the final fight sequence in LA when they are essentially playing hot potato with Ramsey as they are trying to escape the bad guys and to upload the virus to overtake the Shadow's eye. But I would say like my critique with some of the action scenes is that it's hard to tell at times because the lighting. I think most notably with the final fight sequence, but I still quite enjoyed them. So kudos to that. And lastly, Jason Statham. I thought he did a great job as Deckard Shaw. Uh, I find like his character is a worthy opponent to Dom because it was quite funny that I guess there's two moments where essentially he and Dom are playing chicken with the cars. It's probably like ridiculous, especially with the first time because they just crash into each other. But then the second time when they do that, at least there's a payoff, and we see them actually fight using the various tools that they have at their disposal. I thought the opening scene with him at the hospital is quite touching because he's visiting his brother Owen Shaw from Fast Six, and then it cuts to like essentially the hospital destroyed. So clearly he knows how to make an entrance. And I just wondered though, like throughout the movie, why does he keep appearing in and out? Like I thought that does not make sense, but whatever. And so, and his character seems to be the lone wolf, and it did not make sense for him to team up with the bad guy Mos Gigante, but it is what it is. So, in terms of critiques, since I already touched on it a bit, I really hated the whole hacker Shadow's Eye subplot. I thought that was just unnecessary because that took away essentially what was the main goal of the film was to focus on, Deckard going after the team and the team wanting to get revenge because he killed Han because yeah, it should have focused more on that than with this hacker subplot because they could have used that for Fast 8, but whatever. Like I thought Ramsey, she's okay, but she could have been introduced with the eighth movie in my opinion. And I think that's what I have with that segment. And also, too, I felt the plot was convoluted. Like, why is Owen Shaw still alive. But again, probably because with the last movie, you just see him like just fly out of the plane. I guess anything is possible these days. I felt like too with Mr. Nobody, like he, I guess, could have been a bit more mysterious, where like he just shows up out of nowhere, I guess, to replace Hobbs since he's in the hospital. Like he could have helped the team, but he has his own reasons that are unknown to help the team. I felt that could have been more mysterious than literal. Also, too, when did Letty and Dom get married? Because I thought like they got married during the fourth movie, but they would have mentioned that already if that were the case. So I'm assuming this happened after the sixth movie. I don't know. Um, yeah, maybe like they could have showed that like with the eighth movie instead of putting it into this movie, but whatever. Um, yeah, like it could have been a bit more serious because even though they tried to make it a bit darker in tone, like they still have like the fun, the cheesiness, I guess, aspects to it, specifically with Roman, like with him trying to entertain people and all that stuff, and them like always throwing jabs like when they're introduced to the mission and all that sorts of stuff. But hey, and I've had many conversations about this offline. I really felt like this film should have been the end of the series because we see like because them at the beach, like they're all like happy together as family. It seems like everyone wants to move on at the point because even Roma says, "Oh, like things are different now," and then we see like with Brian's arc being complete where he just drives off, and yeah, like it should have just ended after that point. Like I do get that, money, it made a lot of money and all that stuff, but I think in terms of a story perspective, it should have ended with this movie. All right, and then I'm gonna talk briefly about the eighth and the ninth movie. So I did not like both of these movies. With the eighth one, I find Charlie Theron as Cypher. She's fun to see as a villain, but I feel like they're stretching her too thin the more that she is in these movies and how her character is utilized. It was weird, like that Dom and Elena they had a kid together because again, I did not feel their chemistry with the fifth movie, and the fact that they have a kid now, I'm just like why? Because if Dom wanted to be a father, they could have had him and Letty have a kid together, but whatever. Um, and also, too, they have this tendency where they tend to change the characters than how they were portrayed to be. So with both Deckard and Owen, they are actually revealed to be the good guys, which does not make sense. Because when they decide to do that, it just makes the sixth and the seventh movie to be useless. Because again, if he was a good guy this whole time, why'd he decide to attack Dom and his crew if they're all at the same side? Does not make sense. Because it turns out that Cypher was behind it this whole time. I'm just like, ugh. Um, and the plane sequence in the eighth movie I thought was fun. I think while watching in theaters at the time, that was my takeaway with that movie. And I did not get why they had to bring Brian back because they showed, I guess, his car in the driveway as they're having what dinner together or something. I'm just like, no, like he felt wrapped up with the seventh movie. Why are we bringing him back? Because otherwise, then what was the point of doing that with seven? I don't get it. The ninth movie, my opinion, is the worst one of the series. Like, why does Dom and Mia have another brother that would have been mentioned way earlier in the series? I hated that half of that one is flashbacks, because for me that always just takes me out of the movie every time when a film does that. Why are we bringing back Han at this point? Like, I get that people like him, but it does not make sense, because it turns out that, I guess, what, he faked his death to help this girl, whatnot, because she's a key for something. I don't get that choice. And Hobbs's absence in this movie was heavily felt. His Yeah, like, I get that there was some drama that happened, I believe, during the eighth movie between Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel. But yeah, like, it's just yeah, I can't even talk right now. And that, I'll just say this, that with the ninth movie that was directed by the guy, like, who arguably had made the best movies out of this franchise, I am shocked. I'm surprised. Like, I don't know what happened, but here we are. Okay, so we have, like, the 10th movie, Fast X, that's coming out. I haven't seen it as the time of this recording. So just based off the trailers, it looks cheesy, but it looks like a fun time. So I already got my tickets, so hopefully it'll be entertaining. But again, I have low expectations for this movie. Obviously, like, we get to see more of Charlize Theron as Cypher, so it'll be interesting to see where she goes with this movie. I do not get why, like, with Jason Momoa's character is connected to the Reyes from the fifth movie. Like, I really hate how that they keep trying to change certain events from the past just to make up something for the new movies. I'm just like, leave those movies alone. Just have, like, Momoa as a bad guy that's not attached to any of the characters, or he could just be associated with Cypher, where they're going after the team. Like, stop trying to connect him to these movies. So, and I do hope that, like what they did with John Cena, hopefully Momoa is not nerfed at the end of this movie, where he is actually the good guy this whole time, because that does not make sense. And since, like, they're doing this trend, I hear rumors that Gal Gadot may be back as Giselle, and it seems like they keep changing stuff for the sake of plot convenience. Because I get that, we all like these actors and the characters, but I mean, hey, because technically we didn't see Giselle die, so why not at this point? Okay, so those pretty much are my thoughts on Furious 7, and also too with uh, Fate of the Furious and F9. So the next video that will be wrapping up this conversation is the spin-off Hobbs and Shaw, which should be interesting. So the link to where you guys can find these videos to watch will be in the description, along with my socials. And I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one.